Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons match preview show with myself and Sloth. Arsenal away, always a tough test, but we've actually had some good success there in the last couple of seasons, beating them twice on the bounce away from home in the Premier League, keeping clean sheets on both occasions as well, a 2-0 win and a 1-0 win. So can we make it a hat-trick on Saturday against an in-form Mikel Arteta team that have been fantastic this season, and all of the statistics point towards an Arsenal win, but football isn't played on statistics. It's played on a 90-minute game on the football pitch. So we'll see how we fare under Nuno. But we're going to break things down, look at Arsenal's strengths, look at maybe some of the weaknesses we can get at, and look at how Nuno's going to platform his team going into this one before we obviously head into the international break after the Arsenal game as well. So if you do enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel as it massively helps us out. And Sloth, before we get through all of the stats and look at Arsenal in a bit more detail, we've spoken about Arsenal before. We've spoken about the Mikel Arteta project before. There's obviously big noise around the fact that they need to win something this season, ideally a Premier League or a Champions League, for it to be considered a successful season, especially considering the amount they've spent again, the recruitment they've been able to bring in, and the strength and depth that they now have within their squad. So what have you made of Mikel Arteta's kind of 5-6 year project and the point they're now at, and what do you think they need to go on and do this season for it to be successful?
Oh, this is going to get the comment section going, isn't it? Bloody hell! I mean, my thoughts on Mikel Arteta, that I don't like him. I think he is the David Brent of the managerial world. He's very much a sort of the cringe sales executive of the managerial world who thinks of an idea and there's zero sort of logic or pushback against it. He literally just gets people saying yes to him. Like, and I still can't believe that this is a sentence. Hiring pickpockets to steal items from your players at your own dinner. Just think about that for a second. Like, it's baffling stuff. It's clear to see that I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of the particular morals that he has as well. Standing by a certain number five. We will leave that topic as well.
What about on the pitch,
How,
and obviously the recruitment that Arsenal have made, the signings that they've brought in, and the way Arsenal are playing now? Obviously, got them challenging again for titles on a consistent basis, back in the Champions League as well as one of the best teams in Europe. Do you have to kind of give him some respect there for what he has done over the last 6 years at Arsenal?
yeah, that's kind of where he annoyingly has to get a bit of credit. I do think he's done a really good job removing that sort of stigma that Arsenal had of being quite soft beat, and it's easy, like soft touches, very physically easy to play against, and he is the one who's made that happen. It's not been anyone else, you know. Before they were there, it was very much Arsenal can be rolled over easily, or if you go in there and you give them a bit of stick, they're not going to like it. And Arteta is 100% the person who has sorted them out defensively, got them on this excellent just momentum with the right track with their set pieces. The fact that, you know, they can defend them, but they can also just absolutely tear teams apart. It doesn't matter if you're you know, Stoke City from from years ago. You will still struggle with Arsenal set pieces because they are so varied and so well drilled that the whole team is on the same page. And when you have that sort of coordinated attack from quality delivery, which is the other thing that I think goes under the radar, particularly painful to say as a West Ham fan, but Declan Rice's delivery into the box is always just top quality. And I think it's one of those things where if you took away that coaching, if you took away the set piece, then frustratingly, they wouldn't be quite where they are. I don't think, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but I think they'd still be in the top four, and I think they'd be comfortably sort of cementing that fourth spot. The issue that they've had for a long time is that striker position, that goal scorer. And people like to mock Gyökeres. You know, we've done a video on Gyökeres ourselves where we really analysed him while he was at Coventry. He obviously went to another level completely while he was at Sporting. But he is a great footballer, and he is someone who I think there's so much negativity online about Arsenal, rightfully so. You know, their fans are some of the cringiest in the world, and I don't think too many people would disagree with me on that. That people might think I'm cringy. That's fine. I know I am, but I think most people would not argue the point that Arsenal are incredibly cringeworthy. But now they've actually got something to back up their whole entitled attitude and you know, cussing people out. I don't know what the kids call it these days, but the fact that I think they now have a goal scorer as well as quality across the front and different types of attack. And people might disagree with me on this, but I think when you have the pace and ability on the ball of players like Martinelli and Saka, and then you combine it with the fact that you've got, I know Havertz injured, but you had that element to the recipe. You've now got Gyökeres, you've got Moreno, is it, that they've often liked to play up top, and you've got someone who's a bit more willing to take these chances from a striker perspective in Arteta, and I think that makes them a prospect that we haven't seen from an Arsenal side in years.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think they've recruited well in the summer. I think Zubimendi coming into midfield is a really nice buy. Eze is obviously a very big deal to get over the line, and I think he's going to obviously get up to speed with Arsenal and how they want to play very quickly. You've, as you said, Martinelli, Trossard, the experience and the pace of both of those. You've got Saka, who we know has the quality as well. And then, as you mentioned, Havertz, they can play Marino up top. They've got Gyökeres. They've got Madueke now that can come in onto either side of that front three. So they've got options, and they've got young options as well, not just recruited well. They've brought through Max Dallman, who looks a fantastic talent. They've obviously got Nwaneri, who hasn't pushed on as quickly as I thought he would, but again, still very young and clearly has talent in abundance. So they've got options. And to be honest, when I look at the top teams in the Premier League, I think they probably have the best options, or definitely on par with the best options in terms of the strength and depth that they have going forwards. And as we've already kind of alluded to, they are defensively the best team in the Premier League. And they've built a nice platform to build to kind of capitalize on. And it's not really clicked for them 100% yet going forwards. I think they still have a bit of work to do, and Arteta needs to get the balance right between defense and attack, especially in games when they're coming up against West Ham, where they're going to be expected to dominate possession. And it's going to require players like Saka, Odegaard, who we didn't even mention there, Eze, Martinelli to break you down. But I think they have a nice blend of that. So let's look at the stats from Arsenal and West Ham so far this season. Slightly different pictures, as we will be aware of. But Arsenal on 13 points from an expected of 11.69. So slightly overperforming there. 12 goals scored to 10.22 expected. So again, a slight overperformance there. Just 3 goals conceded from an expected goals conceded of 4.17. And they're in second, but expected data puts them top of the league so far this season. When we compare that with West Ham, slightly different picture with 4 points at the moment compared to 5.96 expected. So slightly underperforming in that sense. Goals scored 6 compared to 5.81 expected. So pretty much on track there. 14 goals conceded, which is the worst in the Premier League so far this season, which Nuno needs to address and needs to sort out from an expected goals conceded of 10.15. And we find ourselves in 19th position compared to an expected position of 16th. So kind of at different ends of the spectrum there, Sloth, in terms of Arsenal have been very good so far this season. Again, defensively, been very good. They've had a tough start as well. They've played Liverpool, again, narrowly missing out there. They've drew with City at home after coming back from 1-0 down. And they've gone to St. James's Park more recently, where they notoriously struggle, and they've had the mentality to get over the line and win that game 2-1. Again, they've been very heavy on set pieces. I think they've had the most corners in the Premier League so far this season with 45 corners. And obviously, they're going to be top for goals scored from set pieces as well. So when we talk about the sensitiveness of West Ham to set pieces so far this season, We talk about obviously Arsenal's creativity and on the ball characteristics that they can bring with the likes of Eze and Saka. But is this a simple case of if Arsenal are on it with set pieces, we're going to struggle because we've conceded 8 goals from set pieces or crosses so far this season? So surely that's just something Arteta's going to be looking to exploit on Saturday against us.
Definitely. I think this will be one of the biggest ways that they can not only win this football match, but actually just trounce us. As much as I like Nuno and we've been very positive about Nuno, I just cannot see him fixing the defence and all the issues in it in such a short amount of time. And when you look at, say, Max Kilman in the air and Mavropanos, who obviously Arsenal will know well, but also the fact that you combine that with keepers who, regardless of who we pick, they're not the most convincing in the air. They're not the most convincing coming out for set pieces. I think that is where you're really going to struggle to see a sudden improvement or a very drastic one in a short space of time. So I think they'll obviously be targeting set pieces, but they will want to really make a statement because we are, let's not forget, we're a team that has essentially ended their title hopes on 2 occasions. And they will probably see this as a good chance to really, stick it to us from the fact that we've done that and let the rest of the league know that they want to be taken seriously this season, and if they weren't already. But I do think that set pieces, they're going to be a massive struggle for us. I've already sort of covered the defensive side of things, but one positive that we do really have from them is that if we can manage to get something from the set pieces or win them aerially, then the threat we possess on the counter is probably where the positives are going to come from for us. The only issue is that Arsenal are so massive, winning the ball in the first place is going to be difficult for us.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And let's just very quickly round up Arsenal stats so far this season before talking a little bit about West Ham and Nuno. But Arsenal so far, second best defensive record in the Premier League with 12 goals scored. When we look at the expected data, they've got the 7th best expected offensive record with 10.22 expected goals scored. So again, not been the best going forwards. However, defensively, they've been fantastic. Joint strongest defensive record in the Premier League with just 3 goals conceded. They rank first for expected points as well, 11.69. They're averaging 2 goals per game at the moment. They're averaging just 0.5 goals conceded per game. And they're averaging around 56% possession in the Premier League so far. Let's talk about West Ham a little bit, Sloth, because we know Arsenal's dangers. They've got abundance of quality on the ball, but also aerially, which is going to be a massive issue for West Ham if this season is to go by anything. But when we look at Nuno, he's obviously come in less than a week ago. He's got a good point up at Everton and set the foundations, made some big decisions, which we spoke about last night on the stream with James Ward-Prowse and Todibo and bringing in Magassa, those kind of decisions. What's he going to be looking to do in this game? Obviously, the counter-attack is the simple answer with the likes of Somerville and Bowen, but how is he going to get the best out of those in this sort of setup? Is it allowing the likes of Somerville and Bowen to sit a little bit higher? Or is Nuno going to be like, right, you guys need to put a shift in. We're going to need you to track back and go forwards as well. And, we spoke about the engine of Juve being able to do that. How key is he going to be into West Ham's success on Saturday if they are to get any success?
I think the width is going to be the real area where we can win or lose this game. I keep saying it, but the other thing we really have to be conscious of is keeping some sort of shape and structure when we attack. And I don't just mean that from the wide men. We spoke about the positivity of Fulkrug for the goal and the impact that he played for that against Everton, and not necessarily his great work, but it's the fact that just having him there and that physical presence, it changes how defenders defend against you. And I think that when you look at Arsenal, obviously they have the best centre-back pairing in the league, in my opinion. I think Gabriel is probably the best centre-back in the league, in my opinion. I think he's been fantastic and underrated for a good 12 months because people seem to love Virgil van Dijk so much. But I think that the thing we've really got to hope is that we catch them on a bit of a bad day, but also Fulkrug is really putting in a shift, because if we can get that consistently quality delivery of Diouf into Fulkrug, then we will cause problems. Even if, like we saw, Gabriel and Saliba potentially defend really well, those headers away from the area can still fall to one of our own players. And it's something that we've said about for a long time, but when you have pace across the pitch, and I know we've kind of really focused on youth, but I do think Kyle Walker-Peters offers you a really good outlet as well, and one that I think Youth's taken a lot of their headlines, rightly so, but Kyle Walker-Peters is a very good attacking right back as well. He's not maybe as swashbuckling in that sense and marauding going forward. He's not the physical powerhouse as well, but you saw against the Wolves in the Cup where his delivery is fantastic. And if we can get that, if we can get both of them working hard, then we are going to have some joy, I think, in terms of at least causing problems for Arsenal. And David Raya is a very, very good goalkeeper. But I do think that if we get chances, if a chance falls to Jared Bowen, I think we'll be looking more at kind of a ruining his clean sheet numbers for the season so far.
Yeah, I think it's going to be almost how much do we want to gamble in this game for Nuno? Because I think obviously the danger for West Ham going forwards is going to be the combination of Somerville and Diouf down that left-hand side and what we can offer going forwards, because that's where I think we're going to get the best success on the break, is getting Somerville the ball very, very quickly in 1v1 situations when Arsenal may be caught out in possession and a bit too far up the pitch, which we saw last season when we scored. They were caught up the pitch a little bit too high, and then we saw Wan-Bissaka and Bowen link up on the right-hand side, and then obviously Bowen ended up scoring off the back of that run, which Aaron Wan-Bissaka crossed in. So I think with Somerville and Diouf, they have to play that part. We haven't got Kudus in this game to play, up there and do that work for us. So we're going to need Somerville to be the outlet on the left-hand side. As you mentioned, whoever plays striker, if it's Fulkrug or Wilson, they have to win the battles as much as possible. It's going to be a very difficult task to do that against Saliba and Gabriel. As you mentioned, the best centre-back pairing in the league. But you have to cause issues. You have to be able to be willing to run in behind and, challenge those centre-backs, because otherwise the ball's just going to keep coming back to us and we're going to really struggle under that pressure. But yeah, for me, I think there's obviously the dangers for West Ham going forwards, Somerville and Diouf down that left-hand side for me. I think that's going to be the key area for success. However, if we overcommit, that's where I think Arsenal will probably get the success as well in those transitions. And, if Diouf's marauding up the pitch and we get caught out, leaving Saka isolated with Kilman having to drop into that left centre-back channel, that scares me, because Saka will take him on every single day of the week. Kilman's just too slow at turning and he won't be able to win that 1v1. Diouf needs to be able to recognise the moment to go forwards. And I think Nuno will probably be encouraging that, but also very cautious of that in the sense that we don't want to overcommit at times. And it's going to be a very pragmatic approach from West Ham. I think that's the only real way we can set up, because if we try and play this expansive football at the Emirates, we'll just get torn apart. So I think we need to be very compact. We have to be confident defensively. I think the mentality, as we mentioned, there still needs to be a big shift, and Nuno needs to encourage that. He needs to encourage the defense to push out when we can, to attack the ball when we need to from crosses into the box. Again, Arsenal are third for the number of crosses this season in the Premier League from all teams. So they're not scared to put the ball in the box. So we have to be ready to deal with that. And then the second balls, we saw the goal against Everton come from us not really pushing out quick enough to the second ball after the corner comes in, and then we concede from it. So Paqueta and Fernandes, if they're going to be playing in that midfield with, say, a Magassa, they're going to have to be switched on to those second balls, and they're going to have to be ready to trigger when they can. And it's going to be a very difficult task for them, but they have to put the legs in, because Arsenal have engines and quality in midfield. If they're playing Eze and Rice in midfield with Zubimendi as an example, there's a very good blend in that midfield of technical ability, but also, Declan Rice offering the engine as the 8. But in terms of the predicted lineups, it's difficult to see how both teams will line up. Obviously, Arsenal have a lot of different options, but Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori at left back, midfield three of Zubamendi, Eze, Rice. Again, this could be completely different on the day. But then front three of Saka, Martinelli, and Gyökeres. With West Ham, I don't anticipate there being any changes from the game against Everton. When we look at the options that we have, obviously Souček is still suspended for this game, serving the last of his red card suspension. So when we look at those lineups, Slough, would you be playing full? I think that was my big question before we put in our score predictions: is would you continue with Fulkrug up front for this game, or would you bring someone else in to play striker?
I'd probably start Fulkrug, to be honest with you. One of my only disappointments, I think, from the other night is that he didn't substitute Wilson on earlier, and I don't blame him because that neither striker you can really rely on from a fitness point of view. So if you feel like Fulkrug's in a good place, then you're not going to make that change too early on. You can build his fitness a bit, and you kind of protect Callum Wilson as well. So I think that I would start Fulkrug again, but I would make sure that change comes maybe on like the 60th minute. And I think that's potentially how we can mix it up a little bit and try and change tactics, because with Fulkrug you'll get that physicality, you'll get that battering ram, hopefully. And then with Wilson, you get the smarter runs, the ability to drop back into space when you've got the pace of, say, Guilherme or Somerville and Bowen, whoever's on the pitch at that time, to really add for them and create chances. So I think I see it being the same side. The thing that I'm very interested to see is Magassa, and if he looks that bit sharper, because I think if he looks a bit sharper, then suddenly that midfield has a bit more bite and solidity to it, and it look, Arsenal are going to be difficult to stop regardless, but I do think that gives us the best potential at doing so, best potential chance of doing so. Fulkrug up top at least also gives Paqueta and Fernandes something to run off if he wins in the air. So for me, I'd keep it the same, but again, really emphasis on that, the fact that a change is needed on around that 60th minute mark, if not just to try and mix it up a bit and throw Arsenal.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. Right, score predictions. We've won 2-0, we've won 1-0. What's it going to be this season, Slough?
I do think that this season will be the one where that comes to an end, that run. I can maybe see us getting a goal, but I can still see us losing, maybe 3-1.
Yeah, I was going to go 3-0. I think just the set piece quality Arsenal have, I think they're just going to be too much for us to deal with, especially from what we've been doing this season. And I think as the game gets on, as we get tired, the gaps are going to be there. And yeah, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, I can't really see anything else than a routine Arsenal victory in this one. But it's more about the performance for me for this one. Obviously, this is a very difficult game, probably the toughest game that you're going to get in the Premier League this season, or one of at least. So we need to see something from Nuno's team, and especially the players. You know, they're still playing for a spot. There's a new manager right now. They should be looking to impress him. So yeah, that's what I want to see the most of. I need to see a team that works together and isn't easy to beat, isn't easy to break down, and we don't make things too easy for Arsenal on Saturday. But we shall see how that pans out on Saturday at the Emirates. And yeah, let us know your score predictions down below in the comments. What do you think the score is going to be? Are we going to get something again from the Emirates? Who knows? Let us know down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the breakdown. Subscribe to the channel for more content. And Slough, until the next one, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.